Will Work for Patients, episode 44.
Because I had gone through so much hurt, I think I needed to be a healer. A lot of times this happens with people that go through abuse. They want to be able to make an impact. I think my therapy, but what helped me was helping other people. Yeah, you can take the girl out of hospice, but you can't take hospice out of the girl. When they get out of it, they feel really good. And also, many times they can see the results. They still see and feel a difference, sometimes as much as a week later. I had to find a way to supplement the income because I had staff pay. So focusing on 10 people a month can make a facility $24,000 a month, although we do a lot more than that.
What up, Will Workers? Frank Sardella here. Did you ever wonder why you can't grow past a certain volume no matter what you do? Were you puzzled when others seem to have it so easy? Well, I have someone today who grew her wellness practice from 1,000 square feet to well over 10,000 and increased her income to between $800,000 and $1 million a year. No, she's not a chiropractor, but I can tell you all wellness professionals can learn something from this girl about how your own desire to create a result can dictate the results themselves. Today's guest has a booming practice that is now getting national media attention as her patented brainchild spreads like wildfire to interested people across the country, and has now expanded internationally as well, all despite what most would consider terrible disadvantages early on in life. Her story of triumph is inspirational in and of itself and can show us all how overcoming obstacles is sometimes the biggest motivation there is, and teach us not to get hung up on them, but to thrive in spite of them. So, how would you like to learn how to overcome some adversity and set a few wildfires of your own, huh? Well, that's what we're going to take up today. So sit down, stop doing other stuff, knock off wondering, and start listening and learning. Today's episode is entitled Be Awesome, Do Awesome, and Get Awesome. Here we go!
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Will Work for Patients, a free advice podcast dedicated to help chiropractors get on purpose and grow their practices. Get ready to tune in and turn up the volume of your practice marketing. And now, turning up the volume on his mic, big-time chiropractic advocate and your host, here is Frank Sardella.
Hey, that's me, Will Workers. Yes, I'm back. And who wants to talk about blockbuster episodes? Well, I sure do, and man, do I have a walloper of one to bring to you just now. My guest today will astound you with her story of overcoming adversity, creating a single idea into a patented spreading trend that is blowing up the airwaves on national TV too. And the cool thing is she is bringing people along with her on her journey to even greater success, and maybe even you too, Will Workers. Sound intriguing? Well, stay tuned because you're about to hear about something very special. This girl sure knows how to hustle in the most dire of circumstances and create pure platinum. And speaking of hustling, if you haven't gotten the message in the last couple of episodes, we are having a blast in my Sunday Morning Hustle group subscription coaching call. Feedback is incredible. I want you to hustle with us on Sunday mornings. And if you can't make a particular Sunday, don't worry, because you get the replay on demand, so there's no excuse for you not to hustle on a Sunday with us. So write into me, frank@screeningexperts.com, demand the premiere installment of the Sunday Morning Hustle called Moving Your Practice Story Forward. It's free. You can watch it on demand and crush it with just that installment. But then, the trial offer is amazing. Where can you get coaching for $29? $29 gets you a trial month. That's 4 Sundays, hour-long group subscription coaching calls to the Sunday Morning Hustle. I want you logged on next Sunday. Do the trial. Get in there and do it. You won't be sorry, I promise you. And speaking of perks and things that are going to help you, I have a new video up. If you go to willworkforpatients.com/secret formula, you're going to learn about my practice wealth differential that you're going to calculate in there. This will shock and astound you. It's a free video you can watch. It's a little mini seminar. It takes about 17 minutes. And this mathematical calculation you're going to do with your existing practice metrics is going to blow your mind. But in that video, I show you how you can even double or even triple your practice or more with very limited effort. So you have to watch it. willworkforpatients.com/secret formula. Now, today's episode is entitled Be Awesome, Do Awesome, and Get Awesome. And this is no play up on the actual content you're about to hear. My guest is not only going to show you how it's done and even how you can do it yourself, but also how to do it in spite of some of the most dire circumstances and situations perhaps any of us have ever seen. You know, I'll tell you, episode 37, Inspiration Can Transform Your Practice, has gotten more mileage in the episode content lately Nanette de Groot and her interview were mentioned last episode, as a matter of fact, as the reason I met my last guest, Adria Gross. Well, Nanette also hooked me up with my guest today, and I'm not going to lie to you. She's someone I think every single one of you should hook up with and figure out how you can get some of her fire too. But more on that in a moment. So before we go blowing the lid off this thing and the doors off your practice, let's just take a moment or two so as to pay tribute to those who are so graciously keeping Will Work for Patients blasting across the airwaves.
When you're on fire, people will come to watch you burn. That's not only the title of episode 39, but a direct quote referenced by Dr. Jerry Dreesen, Pacific Northwest chiropractor who succeeded, failed, and rose again, mastering a digital age. When I met him, he not only shared his success, he told me how he took his secret sauce and developed it into 5 distinct marketing assets any chiropractor can use to boom any practice. Still practicing, Dr. Jerry helps docs and pros grow with precise marketing techniques. What I like is that he shares his tools that have worked best for him time and again, literally to make every square foot of his practice earn revenue and top patient results. From exploiting reviews to capturing leads, I can tell you Dr. Jerry has the practice growth formula in hand. See for yourself. Visit dcmarketingproducts.com/podcast to get a free Huffington Post article written about you just for being a listener of Will Work for Patients. Let my good friend Dr. Jerry boost your credibility and give you some free marketing advice too. Visit dcmarketingproducts.com/podcast now. That's dcmarketingproducts/podcast.
All right, Will Workers, we're back, and now it's about time I introduced a lady who has impressed me to no end, and I have to say inspired as well. You know these people that just seem like they decide things and they just happen? Well, my guest is no stranger to that phenomenon, and I'll tell you, I found it to be quite contagious. My guest today attests that if you knew the details of the earlier part of her life, you would bet that she was destined for failure. From dysfunctional family ties to being kidnapped, all before age 5, attaining the right to self-guardianship and even attending parent-teacher conferences on her own behalf. But her troubles didn't end there. Somehow, she got herself through high school against all odds. Even enduring a failing marriage, she emerged with 2 daughters who were part of what kept her striving, even through the trials and tribulations of getting through college studies in the medical field with barely passing grades and even a dire illness. Almost at the brink once again, she was shocked to find from her professor that she'd received the highest score in the class, an event she said was the turning point in her life when she realized all she had been told as a child about amounting to nothing was a complete lie, and that she could do anything. After years of self-depreciation, she acknowledged her value and the gifts, talents, and skills that she could contribute to humanity. By the time she was 29, she had gone into business and started an assisted care facility that catered to hospice patients. By age 36, she opened a day spa with an investment of $1,000, folks, a sublease, and a month's free rent. The spa grew from 1,000 to 7,000 square feet in just 3 short years. Later, she expanded the business to occupy 10,000 square feet. How's about that? Now, she shares her success formula with other spa owners and service-based providers and is building a business that will support many of her philanthropic desires to help young women. Hold on a second. Hold the phone. It's time to let her speak for herself. So please welcome to Will Work for Patients, Ms. Meggie Jones. Meggie, welcome to the show. Say hello.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing well. I really want to thank you for being here. I'm actually excited to put you on the hot seat today and just grill you, and I think the listeners are equally excited from all that build-up I did. I hope I didn't freak you out.
That's fine.
So the bios that I read on this show are all from my point of view, so I really like to give you a chance to very in brief tell your story from the significance that you assign it. You know, the significance of what that means to yourself and others today.
Sure. I was born into a family with a very violent father who was not allowed to see us. And when I was 5, he actually kidnapped myself and my 2 brothers and took us to another state. And it was a pretty traumatic experience. When I was 15, I was able to move out, get my own apartment. I had to go to court and get my own guardianship and go to high school. And I had gone through a lot of abuses, and I just didn't think that I was of any value growing up. I really didn't see any value in myself because I was taught to believe so. I tried to commit suicide, and my landlord found me, and the paramedics brought me back, and I was in a coma for 3 days. So I woke up and slowly started shifting into a different life because I didn't expect to wake up. Then I started college, fell in love, got married, had my kids, and then started working in the medical field and opened my own little center. And in the process of having my center, we actually created a product for the skin of these patients that we had in our center, and eventually took it into a spa setting where we did over 50,000 sessions and grew the business. And then we sold the business and started working on the development of what it's become today.
Well, workers, what a story, huh? I mean, I haven't had a story quite like this on the show, I have to say, but being kidnapped as a child as young as age 5, and then by age 15 living on your own in an apartment, and being expected to carry on with life with the whole having been trained that you have no self-worth. And not to even mention the attempted suicide, the coma, everything, and having to emerge from that. So that is really an incredible story of resilience and should be a lesson to us all on the resilience that's possible. We've all heard stories like this, but seldom do we know somebody who's gone through that and then evolving it into something that was very successful. And I'm a huge fan of this, Meggie, turning a negative into a positive, and it looks like you've very much done that. Can I just ask you, how did the whole hospice thing evolve here? You took classes in college and you were studying in the medical field. How did the hospice thing come about?
Well, I think because I had gone through so much hurt, I think I needed to feel like I could be a healer. And so a lot of times this happens with people that go through abuse. Either they go one way or the other, but they want to be able to make a difference and an impact in the world. And so I think my therapy, I never got into any kind of antidepressants or anything like that. I always stayed away from there. But what helped me was helping other people. And hospice is about not keeping them here longer, but keeping them comfortable. And I really just felt like I could make a big difference. And so I started volunteering and working in the field and working with different patients in the hospital and in settings. And then, I just really loved it because I knew that as these people were leaving, that they were leaving in a very comfortable situation, in a place where they would at least pass with ease. But working with these patients, I just wanted to, I don't know, it felt kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but kind of felt spiritual being a part of that transition for them and being there for them. Because a lot of them would be in a cold institution where maybe, they'd hear the shoes of the nurses walking by. And what we did in our facility was we just made sure that they were very comfortable and always had the care that they needed. And we brought their favorite music in, and we just made it very, very comfortable for them. And I miss it a little bit. But it was very hard, too. It was very sad and very difficult to do at the same time.
That's extremely commendable and very inspiring. I have to say, well, workers, first of all, how many of our stories have motivated us to go forward? How many adverse situations, how many circumstances have all of us faced? Those of you who went to chiropractic school or went to school to be a holistic health coach, you listen to episode 1 of the show, and you listen to a half an hour of me telling my story on how I didn't think I would live to see age 30, and how I'm out there advocating chiropractic and wellness now as a result of that. How many of us have those stories where we actually needed to get out there and help people? And obviously, Meggie, you have done that with a bang. And just to reach out and really have the need to help other people the way you were able to help yourself, I think is really commendable. And one of the things that I really like that you said, and here's something to take away, especially for practice owners, that, not only the spiritual connection you were making with people and all the help that you were giving out, but I can tell you this specifically in chiropractic, that we pride ourselves on creating an environment for people, the likes of which they have not seen elsewhere. And many wellness professionals create that warmth in their practice. And Meggie, it looks like you followed that same pattern. You talk about the coldness of these facilities where all you hear is just footsteps of nurses in a cold, echoey hallway. I just immediately got that picture in my mind, and then the picture of the warmth of the facility to make them feel comfortable in their time of need. But it sounds like you brought a lot of that with you into everything.
Yeah, you can take the girl out of hospice, but you can't take hospice out of the girl.
Well put.
And nurses do their very best at these facilities. It's just so many times they have too many patients to take care of. And so, they do their very best, and they definitely try to give the best care they can. And so it was nice because we could do a smaller facility and give them more care.
That goes without saying. Now tell us, how did you make that transition from the hospice to the spa setting? Like, how did that all go down, and what sort of inspired that?
Well, we were a private pay facility. Hospice was just a little piece where we had hospice workers coming in and out. But we were a private facility, and so we had 2 patients that couldn't afford to stay any longer. And at the time, there was only a choice of either you were state-funded or you were private pay, and so there wasn't a mixture of the two, which there is now. And so I had gone on a tour to look at the county facilities, and the ones that I saw, I just didn't feel like it was the right fit for the people that we had been taking care of. And so I decided to keep these residents. We were only licensed for so many beds, and so I had to find a way to supplement the income because I had staff to pay. So I'd never walked into a day spa, but I found a little 1,000 square feet space, and that's when I went in, and I thought, well, I'll just do some spa services. I'd had a massage at a gym, and I'd had a facial for Mary Kay, and I didn't really know anything about spa services. And so I decided to open this up and rent little areas, and we did facials and massages and different body wraps and different scrubs. And so that's one day, one of the body products that we were doing didn't arrive. And so my friend actually called her. I said, I don't know what to do. And she said, why don't you use the product that you created for your facility that we were using with these residents? And so I went ahead and used that product and developed a body treatment out of it. And it just grew and grew and grew.
So necessity was the mother of invention there. It doesn't sound like you even planned. You sort of backed into this whole thing, huh?
I just thought it would be a little way of supplementing the income for them, and maybe getting a facial massage or something. I had no idea it was going to grow and take off like that.
It's amazing how some of the biggest entrepreneurial stories going start as something a lot different than an entrepreneurial pursuit.
Yeah, we were seeing such happy people, and it was amazing. And we did a lot of sessions, and we grew and grew and grew. And then we further have developed it.
I think just relegating this whole thing to having opened a spa really just doesn't do this whole thing justice. And I really want you to get into what it is you do and what's attracting all the buzz and attention right now. And that's the nutrient body sculpt that you're doing. I, for one, found when I was working with Nanette DeGroat, who Will Workers, you know her from episode 37. How many times have we mentioned this woman? Quite an entrepreneurial spirit in her own right, who added Maggie's nutrient body sculpt into her practice in a very big way. It definitely caught my interest, mostly because not only was I impressed with your story, but you're doing something quite unique. So unique, you even have the patent on it. So can you just tell our listeners a little bit about what that is and why you've been so successful with it?
Well, our first formula was minerals and some micronutrients, and we had lots of different other types initially in our facility. And then we used our own formula and developed it and spent about $500,000 developing it there. And then when we started setting out to do it on a national, international level, we actually met some doctors that had been approached by the military after 9/11. And one of the doctors was one of the number one doctors in the country in antioxidant science, Dr. Prasad. And so when we met them, we wanted to find a way to get their product into our product because they had been congressionally funded $12 million for research, and then they had been privately funded. Most of them, I believe, were medical doctors. And so they were able to test it in the Department of Defense. And then when we met them, we wanted to find a way to get that to go into our current formula to go transdermal, which took us years and a lot of money and time to get. And so we finally did that. And now we have a product that's just really, really unique. Most of the products on the market, like body treatments, body wraps, are sweat loss based, or they may use some herbals, but our product is using the antioxidants and the minerals together, which we put on the skin. So what it helps them do is it helps them feel better. It also helps accent their face, their chin, their body, and many of them, they're on a weight loss program already. This is an incredible product to add to the program that they're doing so that they can get even faster results.
There are a couple things that really intrigue me about this, I have to tell you, Meggie, because there are a couple things that I think are pretty ingenious here. I'm just going to talk specifically straight chiropractic right now, but this really applies across the boards in wellness. One of the things chiropractors are facing specifically right now is the chiropractic adjustment, though it's a very powerful thing. Now, it's something that even saved my life. It's definitely not enough. There are a lot of lifestyle things that need to be changed with people, and it's getting harder and harder to get people to make lifestyle changes. Can you comment on changes in people's lives that you've seen with that?
Yes, the doctors, when they tested their micronutrients, the oral micronutrient in the laboratories, the reports that they got were very helpful in the sense that it helped with reducing inflammation, it helped kill free radicals, and those kind of things. But we're a cosmetic, so we don't talk about it in the same way because we're not a medical device. We don't cure or treat anybody. But basically, what a lot of people will do is they have a lot of the inflammation in their gut, and so when they take certain things, sometimes they have trouble getting what they need in the body. What we're here to do is to put micronutrients and minerals on the skin, which a large group of the population is micronutrient mineral deficient. So we basically put it on the skin and sculpt the body, and we are able to see some amazing results by doing that. Again, we're not curing, treating, diagnosing anybody, and even though the doctors talk about their studies, we're considered a cosmetic.
Well, workers, if you ask me, I have to be honest. I'm a little bit biased toward Meggie and what she's doing in her product. Do I think that you should be working with her and finding out how you can do this? Absolutely. But there are layers deeper than that. Look a little bit deeper into the process of what she had to do. The R&D, the due diligence, the incredible amount of persistence it took to do the things that she did and to have these things fall into the right sequence. So it's amazing that when you get out there, the amount of serendipity that comes into play once you're really focused and you're really driven. And I think Meggie has proven that to us. I think that's an even more important takeaway. It's a concept that you really need to look at. And again, my biggest takeaway is it goes beyond having to make someone make a lifestyle change. It helps you assist them in actually affecting that. So I want to compliment you on your genius in this. Here are the burning questions, though. What do you think created all the buzz and popularity of this particular product?
Well, the way people feel. I mean, we have our little location here in LA that we've been working in. We're seeing about an 80-85% of package buy ratio. And so basically they will pay for one, but we give them a better deal to do a package, which I'm sure everybody that you work with is familiar with, and they probably do the same. So we teach facilities to focus on 10 people a month buying a 12 series, which is where they come once a week for 12 weeks. And it saves them a lot, but it also helps the facility make a really good income. So normally we charge $300 a session, but when we do the 12, they're paying for 8 and they're getting 4 for free. So they're paying $2,400 rather than $36. So focusing on 10 people a month can make a facility $24,000 a month, although we do a lot more than that. And so when they get out of it, they feel really good because they've been deficient in micronutrients and minerals. And also many times they can see the results. It may not happen on the first time where they see it, but a lot of times they see it on the face very quickly. And then they start to see it in the body. And through the next 72 hours, they still see and feel a difference, sometimes as much as a week later. And then by the time they come back again, it's like they just got recharged. So that's what makes it popular.
And I'll tell you, you've got a lot of jealous chiropractors in the audience right now. Many of them, Meggie, as you probably know, are really getting, cut off at the knees by insurance companies and reimbursement. And some of them are lucky if they're getting reimbursed even $20 a visit, much less $300 per session. But I don't really think the takeaway is the income here because, my question to you was, what created all the buzz, what created all the interest? And I think the takeaway is how great someone feels in concentrating on delivering the highest quality restoration of health imaginable to where the person, I guess you could say, feeling is believing. And chiropractors and wellness professionals experience that every day in practice when they provide help that wasn't previously provided. Somebody suddenly gets well where they were just maintaining their sick state and coping. In the past, this is a whole new ballgame. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that in practice when we get in the brunt of not getting reimbursed for our efforts. And again, that's why I'm encouraging docs. You mentioned how you're working in packages. Many of my doctors are getting involved in weight loss right now because it's not just a powerful demographic that has a lot of interest, but because those people are qualified for care, meaning that they do have health problems if they're overweight. And so it's assisting practices attract those type of people and convert them into patients, but also give them a little extra revenue stream as well. My patients who are doing lipolaser right now are doing that for that exact reason, and they follow a similar pattern. So I think the takeaway really is about results that people actually desire or find desirable. I can't believe how great I feel. And that's really what you have to go for. To create that in somebody, I think you really have to find out what it is that will make them have that OMG moment, the result that they consider desirable. And I think the second question to this, Meggie, is you mentioned you have some attention from some national media right now on this. And I don't know how much about you talk about here on the show at this juncture, but I know there's a lot of exciting things you told me about that are going on with that. How can you explain this wildfire that's caught on, that catapulted you from 1,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet and is now doing the same for other people who are carrying your product line? How did it catch on? Like, how did that wildfire spread?
Well, results. I mean, when people have and do a series and they see a difference, they go out and tell their friends. You know, that's basically how it works. And so the referral, about 80% of the business would come from referral, and maybe 10 to 15 to 20 maybe would go from some marketing. So marketing fuels the fire, but the real fire burns from people coming out and feeling better and seeing a difference in their own body. So that happened. And then national shows, we've been approached by several national shows. We weren't ready at the time to take them. Now we're getting ready for them, and we've been talking to several, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and you're literally busting at the seams, at least where America is concerned. Yes, I think you mentioned that you're expanding overseas now, in very short order.
Yes, we're now international. It's exciting. So we're just in the process of building this and working with the right facilities and teaching them how to do the same thing. Understand there's a lot of things that happen in the chiropractic world that you're not allowed to claim, and it's the same story for us. We're not allowed to talk about all the things. If we told and shared all the testimonies we got, then it would be something we're not allowed to do. But I love watching people get excited, and I've had people actually shake me and say, "You don't understand." Like, I understand. I mean, so
I can only imagine. So, Meggie, tell me, we're coming toward the end of the episode here, and I'd really like to draw some takeaways, and a lot of the times it's me giving the takeaways, but I'd like you to weigh in here, because I think that you have a lot of credibility here in terms of building a practice, and I want you to talk about maybe not specifically your product, but anybody who has a product that's getting people well, that's getting an astounding result. What message or advice would you give to practice owners who, let's say, maybe aren't achieving their ultimate goals and dreams in practice, or maybe have some adversity in their road? What advice would you dole out to them to get them on the right track to success?
Well, a couple different things. One is, you can't see the label inside the jar, right? So it's really important. A lot of people have these amazing things that they do, especially in chiropractic and different areas where they're healers, right? And so they have these things that make a quality of life for their patient, but they're working so much, they're overwhelmed. And so there's a lot of ways to get the message out, and they can do it in simple ways that won't cost a lot of money. I don't know. I mean, if somebody wanted to reach out to me, they could, and I can give them some advice about it, but it's definitely getting the right people to help you. And if you're not good at something, hire somebody or bring somebody on that is. Because there's so many hats, that they're wearing so many hats. And they're maybe not good at all those hats because it's hard, because they're spread so thin. So I would suggest bringing a team together. And there's a way to bring a team together that won't cost you an arm and leg. And you can help your business grow and get that message across and just do what you do well, which is helping, the patient feel better. And two is making sure you focus on what you're really good at and not spreading yourself so thin, and making sure that you get the message out by just being a healer, because when you heal people, they start talking.
Wow, Meggie, absolute gems in what you said there, and your parting advice to chiropractors, doctors, practice owners, and wellness professionals everywhere. There's so much to learn from here just in that one statement, just pure words of wisdom. You can't see the label inside the jar. Never heard that before, but I'm going to be quoting you everywhere on that. I think that's pure genius. Folks, you're healers. Just listen to what Meggie's saying here. You're healers, and you're there to improve the quality of life for your patients, and that's something we lose sight of when we get into the brunt of workaday life. And you need to be able to achieve that balance and still provide those results, because that's what's going to drive your PR from your practice. When you are promoting, when you want it to spread like wildfire, you have to have results. You can't fake this thing. So having that quality of care there, but juggling all those things, Meggie makes a fantastic point. Because when you're juggling all those hats, and when you don't specialize in every single one of them, Remember, we talked about this in many earlier episodes. What you went to school for is but 7 to 15% of everything you do in practice. No more than 15%. And so you really have to be able to find a team of people and assemble that team, hand-picking people who specialize in the things that you're not good at. If you are good at them, great. If you're naturally a great public speaker, you don't have to hire out. But if you're not, you might have to have a spokesperson. There are a lot of bases to cover here, and Meggie makes an interesting point there. Focus on what you really do well, and think about it. If you really want to focus on what you really do well, then you just need to delegate those things that you don't. And you'll have all the time in the world to do it. So I think that's brilliant. Meggie, thank you so much for those words of wisdom.
Thank you.
And now for the last word. Who gets the last word? I do. After all, it's my show. What should you take away from today's episode? If anything, I'd like you to take to heart one thing. That no matter how beaten down you get, no matter how downtrodden, no matter what the circumstances are, even when you think it's time to quit your job, your practice, or even your life, it's not. In fact, that's about the time things are just beginning, and they are on the verge of getting exciting. If you listen to the most successful entrepreneurial journeys, most of them start out like dismal failures, at least seemingly for that point in time. But any horror stories along that path these captains of industry took seem to be a sign that things are about to get exciting, fun, and ultimately prosperous. Great enterprises are built through what seem to be rites of passage. No, not all enterprises are built this way. Not everyone experiences the kind of adversity you heard about today. But if you do, it is important to know that you have just as good a shot as any, even as those who face no obstacles at all. And those who have no apparent obstacles probably didn't consider them obstacles in the first place. Point of view comes into play here. By being sure of your goals and purposes, reaffirming them often, even daily, and by getting yourself fired up to pursue them, you are proofing yourself against the barriers, obstacles, and adversities which once beguiled your every thought, transforming them into pieces on a game board. In an intense game where winning is fun, but playing the game was all the joy you could ever want. Play the game of what you really want, and even a poor hand dealt will seem like a full house. Meggie taught us that today, and is living proof of what you can accomplish no matter the odds, no matter the opposite pressure, even as cliche as it may sound. You have the power within you to accomplish it all, and so your reasons for failure become mere excuses for not getting the job done if you don't make it. Isn't it better to endure the pains of making it, no matter how severe, than to fall back on the ease of explaining why it didn't happen? There's only pain in your future if you avoid it today. Face it, work through it to get to where you really want to be, and it's all a pleasure cruise from there. I know that you can achieve it. Meggie, I want to thank you so much for being here today. You obviously had a lot to say and a lot of wisdom, and I have to tell you, every conversation with you that I've ever had has been a pleasure and a learning experience. So, what would be the best way for people to reach out to you?
They can email meg@nutrientbodysculpt.com, or they could even call our line at 310-905-0800 if they'd like to learn more and get a free consultation about our product. Or if they just want to email me and have questions, I'd be happy to give them some advice on how I was able to spread my business across in my own spa that I had. Because I love helping small businesses. It means a lot. And I love helping people feel better.
You heard it right here, Will Workers. Reach out to Meggie Jones at meg@nutrientbodysculpt.com. And just assuming if they want information on what you do, I would assume nutrientbodysculpt.com is the place to go, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, and you can reach out to Meggie by phone at 310-905-0800, and she's even offering a free consult, and I can tell you that's worth its weight in platinum as well, because I've hooked her up with a few people, and I know a few practice owners were quite glad that they've spoken to her. There's a lot more to your story, Meggie, than we could even cover here within this time parameter, so I'm hoping you're up for possibly coming back and doing another episode or two. Maybe we can tackle a few more topics here.
I would love that.
Okay, and you have information now on how to reach out to Meggie, so I really do encourage you to do so. And speaking of encouraging you, Allow me to do a shameless plug one more time for the Sunday Morning Hustle. Have you gotten the idea? $29 for a trial month, 4 one-hour coaching calls for $29. Am I insane? You've got to be kidding me with the amount of fun we're having and the amount of crushing it people are doing as a result of these calls. You need to get on it right now. I want you to email me at frank@screeningexperts.com, and I want you to inquire about the Sunday Morning Hustle and how you can get in and join in on the fun. And I want you on that call this Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. We're having all the fun with a replay on demand so you can listen over and over and over to your ultimate enjoyment. So please do join us for that. Meggie, one more time, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Ever since I met you, I have been wanting to introduce you to my audience, and thank you for everything that you do and all your awesomeness. You really, truly are awesome.
Thank you. I feel the same, Frank. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, my friends, we've come to the end of a Gale Force episode. On behalf of myself, my staff, my guest Meggie Jones, and the rest of the Broadcast Wellness crew, I thank you so very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another superpower episode of Will Work for Patients. So long.
Be sure to subscribe and share. Will Work for Patients has been brought to you courtesy of Screening Experts, bringing unscripted simplicity to chiropractic marketing complexity. Today's episode, copyright Screening Experts LLC, musical score composed and arranged by Frank Sardella ASCAP. For more information, visit screeningexperts.com.